In this video, we're going to look at the truth about women's sexual power. I'm going to break it down into 3 parts. So first, you'll learn about the dynamic between the masculine and feminine concerning our sexual power. Secondly, why we must hold this power for ourselves as our life force energy. And thirdly, why we must lean into this in order to change this for future generations and to actually dismantle the patriarchal structures that exist that limit women's power. So firstly, let's acknowledge that women do hold sexual power over men. This is not a manipulative power. This is not a power struggle. It's not evil. It's just nature and it's polarity. It's how it works. It's how the dance between the masculine and the feminine works. And it was made this way for a reason. Actually, it's in men's favor. Women must hold their sexual power over men in order to help men rise into their true divine masculine power. Just like men, when they are in their true divine masculine power, they help us in many ways. So this is how it works. But unfortunately, we have forgotten this. Our generation has forgotten this. Now, in an attempt to empower women, we have started to encourage women basically to give sex away freely and call it sexual liberation, women's empowerment. And this is the farthest thing from women's empowerment. Now, this might trigger some women who are like, Hannah, women like sex too, I like sex too, and I can do what I want. I understand, I totally get it, and your views are your views, but the reason why I say all this is because I know firsthand. I've tried every way. I've gone really into sexual exploration, and I once felt that way. I felt if men are having all the fun, why can't we have some fun? I want to be empowered in my sexuality too, and I tried to be like men. This doesn't work because it's not masculine-feminine dynamics, and it will never empower women, ever. Women must hold their sexual power for themselves, because women's sexuality doesn't work like that. It's completely different. In fact, women's sexuality is very internal, and their erotic energy is something they tap into for themselves. That's why a woman must fall deeply in love with herself and start to generate her own erotic energy. She must keep that energy for herself because it's hers. She must hold it, and it must only be shared when the masculine rises to meet her there and continues to rise to meet her there. It's not like a one-time thing at the start of a relationship, you know? This is not for single women. This is for women in relationships. This is for women in long-term marriages. You must always hold your sexual power. And it's not about being in love, like, oh, we're so in love, I don't need to hold my sexual power anymore. No, you hold it until you die. Literally, it's yours until you die. It will never not be yours. The moment it's not yours, the dynamic is off. And this is masculine, feminine dynamics. If you don't hold it, first of all, the relationship will lose its spark. You might fall into a best friend zone, but it will lose its spark. And not only that, but very often what happens is that the man starts to subconsciously resent you or loses respect for you subconsciously. He will still sleep with you, he will still cuddle with you, he will still take it all, but he will secretly not respect you because he knows that you're not holding your own power. He knows. Men are also very intuitive, and he also knows that he is not tapping into his true power because of this, because he no longer has to work for it. You're actually cutting him off from his erotic energy by letting him feed off yours without having to work for it. His erotic energy means his testosterone. He needs to work for it. This is the male brain. And it doesn't matter, like I said, how in love you are, it's still masculine, feminine dynamics. If he's strong enough, he will start to recognize this and he will cut it off, and you'll end up breaking up, or you'll realize it and you'll cut it off. If you'll demand maybe first that he rises, maybe with saying it, maybe with not saying it, And if he doesn't, you need to walk away, because anything other than that is self-abandonment. Now, what does it look like to hold your sexual power in this dynamic? Well, it's not about dressing up and being like, oh, look at this, but you can't have this. I mean, that can be fun. You can do that. But it's not about that. It's about energy. It's about the energy of it. He'll be able to feel if you're holding your sexual power or not. And in order for any of this to happen, you have to tap into your own sexual power. And we're going to talk about that in the next point. But what do I mean when I say, we want men to rise to it? We want men to work for it and so forth. You're saying, is it about money? Is it about providing, doing stuff for you or whatever? And it could be, that could be part of it, but it's becoming deeper than that now. We're evolving from that, thank God, because it's not so black and white as that. It's now, women are demanding men to come into their full divine masculine power. What is the basis of this? The basis of this is presence. This is what the feminine wants most from the masculine, is presence. Raw, penetrating presence. But this ain't happening. Women are giving away sex to their partners, or not even their partners, to men who are like sitting spaced out watching the TV for hours. And they're trying to get their attention back from him. They want his presence. So they're using sex as a way to connect, using sex as a way to get love. That's what happens. Women use sex to get love. And instead of resuscitating the relationship, you're actually making it decline. That dynamic continues. He feeds off your sexual energy. He doesn't need to tap into his own. You get drained because you're leaking your sexual energy out, and you're not able to harvest it for yourself. You need your sexual energy. And that brings me to my next point, which is that our sexual energy as women is our life force energy. And this is why it's so important to tap into this power and to hold it for yours and to use it for yours. You use this energy to manifest in your life, to create your dream life, to create all of your heart's desires, and to keep you alive, to keep you vibrant, so that you're going through every day like lit up, vibrant, alive. This is your erotic energy. This is your sexual energy. It's the most powerful energy on this planet, female sexual energy is. And why do you think they shame it so much? Because they don't want you tapping in to that power. That's why they twisted it into something dirty or wrong or shameful to have sexual power, to hold your sexual power, to be sexy, all of it. They shamed it because they don't want you tapping in to that power, because that is the true divine feminine. You can access this power through your erotic energy. And what happens then? Well, you aren't so easy to be controlled then, are you? And like I said, that's why they don't like it. They want you in a place where they can control you, where they can either turn you into a little busy, productive worker bee, or make you a little submissive housewife or whatever. I don't know. They want you controllable, is all I can say. They don't want you lit up, alive, and connected to your sexual energy, where you're able to call the shots from leaning into your feminine energy without hardly lifting a finger. Yeah, I'm not talking about hard work. I'm talking about female erotic sexual energy that can move mountains when tapped into correctly. So you need this energy, my dear. Please tap in and please hold it. If you're wondering how you can do that, I'm going to link below a couple of sensual yoga tutorials and embodiment tutorials that can be a starting point to start to discover that energy, that creative sexual energy within you. And lastly, women have a huge, huge, huge responsibility to tap into their sexual power and to hold it for the future generations of our time. You know, if you are a woman, maybe in your 30s or 40s, think of the women coming after you. Think of the women that are in their 20s and teenagers, and think of what being empowered in their sexuality could do for them. Think back to when you were a teenager, what you would have needed to see, you know, what you would have needed to feel within yourself. So doing this work and tapping into your own sexual energy and learning how to hold it is literally changing the world. Like, I don't say this lightly. We are breaking generational patterns, ancestral trauma, generational trauma, and the way that women operate in the world. It all comes down to sexual energy at the end of the day. That is the basis for everything. That is what moves men to action. That is what lights up the feminine. That is what creates human life, literally creates human life. Could there possibly be anything more powerful? That is your erotic energy, and it's yours to hold. Women are the leaders in this. Men are the leaders in many things. Men are the leaders in the physical world, often, and women are often the leaders in the spiritual realm and the sexual realm. Women are the leaders, the feminine, should I say. The feminine is the leader of the sexual realm. And we must know this and hold this in our own bodies and pass it on. And this is the true divine feminine. So I hope that was insightful, and follow for more on erotic energy, erotic power, embodiment, and stepping into our true divine feminine power through the dark feminine and coming back to our wholeness.